1 week of today, and the slides from today's sessions will also be available. Before we get started delving too far into the Big Bull vote, wanted to briefly talk about some environmental prevention and things that we might see, because understanding the impact of media messaging, not only through TV, but through other forms such as corner stores or through billboards, plays an integral part of understanding and the challenging understanding the changes of community norms and really getting a sense of what the communities are seeing. Today's youth see countless advertisements for alcohol, and the Big Bull vote provides the perfect opportunity to stop and think about what some of the messaging is all about. This valuable, fresh, and local information that is gained through the Big Bull vote can be used to educate not only the students, but also parents, lawmakers, and media about the effects of alcohol advertising on youth and the impact that alcohol advertising has on communities as a whole. When we're thinking about the advertising and kind of the big things that we have throughout the year, things that pop up in addition to just the normal advertising that we see, such as our corner stores and our billboards, also kind of circle around holidays. And with that, we call them alcoholidays. And they've kind of transitioned some holidays over time, such as your Halloween. We've got a focus that used to be a fun event, going out beggars night, getting candy from your neighbors, to something that is completely infused with alcohol. Transitioning things like Christmas with Santa into things that are focused on alcohol and really revs things up when you add alcohol to things. And also things like Cinco de Mayo, which really has nothing to do with alcohol, and the messaging doesn't relate to Mexican heritage. It just is an opportunity to drink. Next, we're going to see things like Juneteenth, where the alcohol industry is going to kind of corner that market and focus on there. So when we're looking at some of the alcohol advertising in holidays, I think nationally, Big Bull, or the Super Bowl, is kind of a holiday. We have a lot of folks that have parties and really kind of center around this game. Whether or not you're overly engaged in either team, football is really becoming a national pastime, and I would dare say more so than baseball, which Tony would dare to disagree since he actually likes baseball. But I think we're going to have a lot more people watch the Super Bowl than we have watching the World Series, so football is where it's at. When we're looking at Super Bowl and alcohol, we can see that there's a pretty strong connection throughout time. We've got things like Budweiser being involved in pretty much the first Super Bowl commercials. We've got our the Bud Bowl that would have Budweiser versus Bud Light back in the day, and it's been a staple of the Super Bowl pretty much since the inception of the Super Bowl. In addition to just alcohol in itself, there's been a focus on bringing animals into the Super Bowl. And back in the 1980s, we had our friend Spuds MacKenzie, and we've transitioned a little bit in the 90s to the Budweiser Frogs. And one thing that has been kind of continuous throughout has been the Clydesdales. And they first appeared in the Super Bowl in 1985, and were in the last Super Bowl, and I assume that they will be in this Super Bowl as well. We've yet to see, but if history is to be an indicator, then it's something that we're going to see pop up yet again. And we know that when there's things such as animals, that they tend to are more attracting to youth audiences. And Tony's going to talk more about what responsible advertising is and how that kind of fits into what we're seeing and what we're should be seeing and what we're not seeing as it relates to the Super Bowl and other advertising. Just looking at some of the dollars related to the Super Bowl, we can see that since 2010, the average cost of a Super Bowl was a little over $2.5 million, and the Super Bowl 30-second ads this year is just around $4 million. So throughout time, we've seen a steady increase in the cost of a 30-second ad. Now, when you look at these advertisements, very few of them are actually 30-second ads. Some of them could be 2.5 minutes. So this is a big chunk of media dollars that companies are spending and focusing on the Super Bowl, because they know that in terms of viewership, the Super Bowl is one of the peaks throughout the year to really gain a big, strong cross-section of America. And we also know that dominating all these advertisements is InBev, who is Budweiser, Bud Light, and all the other related beers that InBev kind of runs through. And they've really been a staple within the Super Bowl for quite some time. And we see historically through the Big Bowl vote that we have them popping up as the favorite or most remembered ads. I want to draw your attention quickly to focusing on the importance of media literacy, and this is from a quote from a producer and host of Nick News, and I thought it was really good at really capturing the importance and the need to focus on media literacy, particularly with the opportunity of the Big Bowl vote. And the quote is, "Media literacy is not just important, it is absolutely critical. It's going to make the difference between whether kids are a tool of the mass media or whether the mass media is a tool for kids to use." And I think that's so true that when we're looking at media, no longer is it just radio or TV of commercials, but we have a much stronger presence of the internet involved through Facebook and Twitter, and now you can even see Super Bowl ads prior to the Super Bowl in some of these areas. So they've really kind of stretched things out and made the social media presence much more impactful than it was previously. Now Tony is going to talk about some of the alcohol marketing standards, how alcohol marketing has shifted over time, and how you and your community can participate in the Big Bull vote.
Thank you, Derek. By the way, Derek likes soccer, so you tell me which is better. Is it baseball or soccer? And maybe we can have that on another webinar one time. But really quick, wanted to thank Derek for going over environmental prevention, which is what this agency is focused about. And environmental prevention, in case you don't know, is kind of has a four-prong approach: access and availability, policy and enforcement, community norms, and what we are looking at today, media messages. And they all seem to tie together. That if you have stronger media messages, it can then affect your community norms, which then you have to create policies, and also the access and availability for young people. So it's kind of, this is where we really like to focus on making large-scale changes in communities, and where we do most of our work. We just wanted to really quick, the alcohol marketing regulatory system is really quite confusing. At least to me anyway. I'm doing some research for this. I've always heard that there are that the alcohol industry kind of did their own piece. They monitored themselves, especially in regards to ads, but there is a little bit more to that. Now, quite frankly, they do manage the majority of their own marketing, and they regulate that themselves. But there are other restrictions that do come into play. There are federal regulations. The Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, they actually watch over, and they have the ability and the stronghold to be able to look at permits and labels and ads for wine and distilled spirits, and also malt beverages somewhat. So they kind of, they're the ones who have the regulatory advantage for like wine and those types of things, labeling, that you can't have too wild labels and those types of things. Also the Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, they are responsible for, in this alcohol marketing regulatory system, they're responsible for labeling of wine beverages under 7% alcohol content. And for the FDA to have that, wine beverages under 7% is actually considered a food. So that's how they have jurisdiction over that. And then the Federal Trade Commission kind of has the general authority to regulate deceptive or unfair commercial practices. So if the alcohol industry would come out and all of a sudden start claiming that Patron cures cancer or something like that, the Federal Trade Commission would actually have jurisdiction and deal with whoever makes Patron responsible and come after them. There's also state regulations. Many states, I know that Washington is a state that they are, I forget the word, they don't have a state regulatory system. They're more of a manage themselves kind of state. But Ohio and many other states actually have a state regulatory system. We are in Ohio called the Ohio Liquor Control Commission. But with prohibition or repeal, the 21st Amendment gave states the responsibility to regulate. So every state can kind of monitor and regulate what kind of alcohol is going into their state, what goes into their stores, whether they're liquor stores, open Sundays, all of those other policies. And then some states also monitor and regulate what kind of marketing happens as far as alcohol is concerned. So those are two. So the next one is going to be the alcohol industry standards. They're the ones who have the majority of power in this whole system. The Beer Council, the Wine Council, and the Distilled Spirits have actually their own codes for marketing. So they monitor themselves. They don't go with the Century Council folks, who are more of the alcohol industry. The Century Council is a nonprofit that gets support from the alcohol industry to regulate marketing, to do some of their anti-alcohol ads, and to do their underage drinking things around the country. So that in itself, to me at least, is a little bit confusing, that there is not one central location or one central set of rules to what alcohol marketing means. They do have some standards, which we'll talk about in just a minute, but there's nothing that is absolutely concrete for the entire alcohol industry. Also, there's the national TV network standards. Basically, NBC, ABC, CBS, and Fox have been given, they have kind of jurisdiction over what is played on their stations, on their affiliates. So they can also, they don't have to play any ads if they don't want to. It's up to the network itself. But they do have some say in what they put on television. The alcohol marketing standards, again, we talked a little bit about the Century Council. Again, fighting drunk driving and underage drinking, that's their logo. Some of their standards that the Century Council has is messages should not be designed to appeal to people under 21 years of age. Again, they do some work on underage drinking and some programming. The evidence-based piece is not always there with Century Council. And you can see they kind of have the 5 years of success in their mission there as well. Cartoon characters are strongly discouraged, which is interesting considering the Budweiser frogs and even the even that Spuds McKenzie. Although animals, Budweiser didn't really have frogs that they trained to actually sing and do Budweiser. So, those were kind of cartoon character-esque. Also, another alcohol marketing standard is that alcohol ads can only be placed in media where 70% of the audience is over 21. So you can't have, according to their own standards, an alcohol ad on Nickelodeon or Disney Channel or any of those kind of family-friendly channels that are on. ABC Family is another one. So that is their own standard as well. Brands cannot be promoted based on alcohol content or effects. So, they can't say, oh, this is 50% alcohol and or 100 proof or whatever. So drink ours. They can't be promoted that way. It's got to be marketed in different ways. It also must not encourage irresponsible drinking. So they can't have an ad where a person, is partying at a lake and then gets into a boat, driving drunk or anything. So it must not encourage irresponsible drinking. And again, the media vendors have the discretion to reject advertisers or advertisements, which goes back to the networks and actually any television, print, magazine. It's up to them whether they want alcohol ads in their forms of media. What's interesting, there's also World Alcohol Marketing Standards. The World Health Organization, I was at a conference back in April of 2013. It was the U.S. Alcohol Policy Summit, and the World Health Organization was quite active there, talking about different things that were going on around countries and continents. And one of the main concerns that they had was Africa and the almost lack of marketing regulation that seems to be going on in that continent. And they're really, really concerned about this because alcohol rates are starting to really skyrocket with that continent, especially with no regulation. Wanted to bring up another thing that we learned about was England. And they've got everything, the marketing pieces, especially underage drinking and problem drinking awareness. They have everything from what England, which is what they call the Drink Aware campaign, which is basically drink alcohol sensibly, avoid binge drinking, don't get yourself into trouble, kind of a lot of harm reduction type of things. But then you have on the opposite end of the extreme, it came out last year, South Africa released a problem drinking prevention campaign, and basically it threatened men especially with rape in prison. So if you drink and you get caught drunk driving, then you will go to prison and you will get raped, was the messaging there. Like I said, two extremes, but without a whole lot, especially in the continent of Africa, without a whole lot of regulation there. That just seems to take place. Also, what's interesting is that some of the bigger countries in the world have banned marketing of alcohol. France and India and Russia and Indonesia have banned all marketing of alcohol in their countries. So you're talking, a fifth to a quarter of the entire world that their countries do not allow alcohol marketing in their country. Russia did it just recently. They did it in January of 2013. What happened was the World Health Organization, they have levels of alcoholism and problem drinking. Russia looked at their own society and saw that their numbers were actually twice that of what the World Health Organization considered a critical level. So Russia took, which is, when I think of Russia, I think everybody thinks of vodka and that kind of stuff. But in Russia now, you're not allowed to have it any kind of advertising anywhere, including billboards, newspapers. So that has been alcohol marketing has been completely erased from that society because of the problems that they have. Real quickly, I wanted to look at alcohol ads through the years. Now, we go back to 50s, 40s, and you see there's Ed McMahon there. Obviously an older gentleman, older as in, I'm guessing he's in his 40s there. I'm in my 40s, so anybody in their 40s that's mad at me for saying they're an older gentleman, I'm 40s too. You have that pick a pair, best reason in the world, obviously a married gentleman. You've got the doctor there, an older gentleman. Beer will change the world. I don't know how, but it will. It has, sadly, not for the better. There's the woman, obviously over 21, in the Schaefer beer ad. And then I just thought the one was funny. It's a man and a woman. She's burned dinner. He's come home from work. It looks like suit and tie. She's in a little apron. And, his response is, "Don't worry, darling, you didn't burn the beer." So, but these are some of the ads. Obviously, as you look at these are all people who are over the legal drinking age, which back in that time I think was 18 years old. It's been increased to 21 now. But they were obviously not trying to market to young people, especially. And young people couldn't identify with any of these things. No kid was saying, "Don't worry, Mom, you didn't burn the beer," to their mom as she was burning the fried chicken or whatever was cooking on the stove there. And no kid, I doubt, really identified with Ed McMahon, especially since he was probably on the Tonight Show just starting out then at that time. But let's look at it now. As you see, the alcohol ads today have really, really changed. You have, there's the one, I think that's called mezzanine alcohol energy drink. I think that has since went out of business, and it's not there. But you see she is obviously spilled her alcohol and is trying to snort it up with a little tube that she has stuck up her nose. That was an ad for the mezzanine alcohol energy drink, and that's pretty troubling. Again, we talk about the frogs there. It goes back to their whole thing of don't use cartoon characters, but those are kind of cartoony in nature. There's also the snowman down at the bottom right-hand corner, which the one bit the head off of the other and put the ice in the drink for Maker's Mark or some kind of scotch down there. And then obviously, as many of you know, and I didn't want to get too graphic, because there are some awful ads as far as the sexualization of women, especially. I put one up there, the young woman who is about ready to take a drink from the Sky liquor, and that's quite the position she has there, to put it nicely. I thought the other piece was interesting was what Bacardi did, and their advertising or their marketing campaign. Do you want to look amazing this summer? And this was aimed at women, obviously. Do you want to look amazing this summer? Get your hands on the hottest boosting accessory now. Get yourself an ugly girlfriend. Basically, if you wanted to look better, you got yourself somebody ugly and you stood beside them. So, and this is what they promoted. Obviously, this is not for 40-ish-year-old women. These are for teens, in my opinion. These are for teens and for young people, college-age women who are maybe struggling with the way that they look, or maybe where looks and appearance are of extreme importance to them. And obviously the young lady in the picture, who is supposed to be the quote-unquote ugly girlfriend, it doesn't look like she may even be over 21. So, but those are some of the pieces that that alcohol ads are going with today. Again, this appeals to young people. It appeals to people. There's no one, I don't think, in their 40s or 50s, who really identifies with a woman who's spilled her drink and is trying to snort it up her nose, unless you have real, I guess, addiction problems. One of the best websites on this subject is a group called the Center for Alcohol Marketing and Youth. And they go by the acronym CAMI. They're out of Johns Hopkins University. They have absolutely the most impressive listing of resources for marketing and youth. They have a lot of great stats. They've got all of these ads. They have a lot of different fact sheets and all of these other kinds of things that when you're talking to young people, when you're talking to adults about these, they really, really make a great case on this subject. They're absolutely phenomenal. The gentleman who is in charge of that is a Dr. David Jernigan. He has, I think, spent his entire adult life doing this. Extremely bright man. He's actually going to be one of our keynotes at our Alcohol Policy Summit, April 2nd and 3rd of this year here in Columbus, Ohio. A cheap plug, I guess. But he is absolutely phenomenal, and this website is just a resource haven. All of it's free. It's not anything that you have to pay for access or anything. Phenomenal, phenomenal stuff. And it is CAMY, CAMY.org, if you'd like to go there. Absolutely phenomenal piece. But some of their stats, again, we showed what alcohol ads have been through the years. Well, the alcohol ads, they've increased in the 2000 decade, 2001 or 2009. Youth exposure to alcohol ads increased by 71%. That is an enormous increase. That's almost double than what any of the kids saw before that. So that's a huge increase. And this was the second bullet I have there. It was just released a few months ago. Out of the 25 largest markets in the United States, 1/4 of the TV stations exceeded the 30% self-regulatory codes. So, and basically what that means is we go back to that self-regulation. One of their codes is that you shall not be on a TV station where there's more than 30% of youth. However, they have their study, CAMY study, found that 1/4 of the 25 top markets, which 1/4 of 25 is 6 or 7, which is a lot of kids in those cities, have actually exceeded that. Interestingly enough, in magazines, youth exposure have dropped by 48%. I have a theory on that, like I do many other things. But as youth are switching from magazines, when I was a kid, there was my sister used to read Teen Beat, and I used to read Mad, and there were those types of things. Everything is social media now. I can't remember the last time I've got 18, 15-year-old boys, and I can't remember the last time they were ever with a magazine. However, social media, they are on that all the time. But magazines, the youth exposure have dropped by 48%. And what's interesting, in the first half of right after the year 2000, so 2001, 2006, there were 1.7 million TV alcohol ads. That's a staggering number. And you just think about how many of those your children saw, or your grandchildren, or those types of things. And it's as Derek talked about, doing kind of a community scan, even in your own home. Watch the television and see how many alcohol ads are on there and what they're really looking at, which is really what we want to do with this big bold vote. Want to bring awareness to this, that this is really a lot more, a lot bigger than I ever thought. I think we've become too desensitized with it. Because it's been around, I can remember when I was young, my watching the taste great, less filling, those football guys yelling at each other. So I remember those ads from when I was a young person. And also, alcohol ads outnumber the responsible ads. So Budweiser is going to outnumber the Century Council ad 30-1 across the nation. Again, those are all stats from the Center for Alcohol Marketing and Youth, CAMI.org. They don't pay us. They don't fund us. They just do absolutely outstanding work. Alcohol ads, they do influence kids, and some of the studies that are shown, again, back on CAMI's website, in 2007, almost 1,800 sixth graders in South Dakota were surveyed, and they found that young people who were more exposed to alcohol marketing, and that included, television beer ads, alcohol ads in magazines, in-store beer displays, beer concessions, radio, and then also the beer promotional items. You can go into Target. I could buy my kid a pair of swim trunks with Corona all over them pretty easily. But of the 1,800 kids, sixth graders, who were more exposed to alcohol marketing, 50%, they were also 50% more likely to be drinking when surveyed a year later. So seventh graders we're talking about were more likely to drink because they were exposed to more marketing. Another great study is from Los Angeles, California. Among Los Angeles seventh graders, those who viewed more television programs containing alcohol commercials, they had a 44% greater risk of beer use, 34% greater risk of wine and liquor use, and what is actually very, very sad is they had a 26% greater risk of a 3-drink episode in 8th grade. So that's taking 3 drinks or more in the 8th grade. And that, are kids who are who viewed more alcohol commercials during their television shows than those who did not. Pretty scary stuff, in my opinion, especially when you think that alcohol, is still the #1 factor in suicides, youth suicides, and crashes, and all of those types of things, youth injuries. Also, movies, alcohol, signage near schools, youth ownership of alcohol promotional items are all associated with the greater likelihood of underage drinking. And it's so prevalent in our culture. Again, you can see it at Target. I could get a pair, of swim trunks for my kids, or a T-shirt. How many beer koozies? How many? It just inundates us in every sector of our life. And we talked. I spoke a little bit about how alcohol advertising was dropping in magazines. It almost had a 50% decrease. Well, there's a new frontier, and these are actual things that are available to anybody, as long as you as long as you show your card, quote unquote, on internet sites. And this is social media and the way that they get to young people through their websites. What was interesting was 13.1% of all in-depth visits. In-depth visits, what I mean by that is an in-depth visit is getting past that front card where it says, state your birthday. 13.1% of all in-depth visits were initiated by underage youth. So there were kids that actually figured out that, wow, if I'm over 21, if I say that my birthday is in 1947, I can actually get into this site. It's not the greatest safeguard in the world. And what you find on there, go to Budweiser especially. There's games, and there's cartoons, and there's free music, and there's instant messaging accessories. There's screensaver downloads. There's all of this kind of stuff. I've got a Budweiser game up there. It kind of looks to me like a Donkey Kong type of game. I think what you do is you have to get your beer and fill it up the fastest. You run your little guy across and grab it and go back to your little window there to get it out to your customers. There's the football game, which you throw the football with your little mouse. Decode Your Dude, which is another game where you figure out how cool you are. And then there's the screensaver. which is kind of disturbing. Alcohol is my anti-drug. Alcohol, kills more people than all illegal drugs combined, and this is what you're coming up with. So it really is disturbing. These are all alcohol kind of downloadables in games. So why do we care? Well, we care because 5,000 young people under the age of 16 take their first drink of alcohol every day, according to CAMI. Teenage girls, and girls seem to be the ones who are most susceptible to problem drinking, especially in college nowadays. Teenage girls who drink are up to 63% more likely to become teen moms. What's interesting, and that's from CAMI. 90% of college sexual assaults happen after either the perpetrator or the victim have been drinking. So, I mean, those are some pretty startling statistics. The Underage Drinking Education Training Center stated that underage drinking cost the U.S. almost $25.1 billion in 2005, and that was just in medical and lost work. So whether parents losing work, having to be taken off because of their kid being, having some kind of problem with alcohol, medical, you're talking about trying to get Medicaid, Medicare under control. That's a huge issue, and that's just underage drinking. Those are people who aren't even allowed to drink, much less those who are and have those same types of situations. And also, if you're 15 and under, if you start drinking before the age of 15, you're 4 times more likely to develop alcohol dependence sometime in your lifetime. So those are why we care, because it does nothing but add devastating consequences to your life, and either put your life on hold until you get into treatment, or just wrecks it permanently. So we come to our big bold vote, and I'm right on time because Derek and I were sitting around wondering, how do we turn the big bold vote, because it's so simplistic and so simple, into an hour webinar? So we're down. It literally takes about 5 minutes, but nobody's going to tune in to hear a 5-minute webinar, I don't think. Maybe at this point you wished it was a 5-minute webinar. But what we have a big bold vote playbook. Which is right there, which kind of goes over all of the, it includes everything. It's free. It's downloadable off our website. What we want to do is just gain as many people in it as we can, and then also give all of the communities who decide to take part an opportunity to talk about alcohol marketing, underage drinking, those types of things in their local papers. We really want you to be the alcohol expert, underage drinking expert in your area. So, so we've created that for you. And I do want to tell you, this is a non-scientific, I guess, survey. There's nothing that's going to weight diversity. There's nothing that weights, whether the people are answering right. I mean, all of those research things. We are a nonprofit. We really want to, however, give coalitions, give schools, give church and religious youth groups an opportunity to be able to talk about underage drinking. It's the opportunity to reach students, to actually give them a message. Hey, have you seen? Did you see how this kind of markets to you? And kids, if they feel like they're being taken advantage of, really kind of makes them upset. It's an opportunity to reach out to your school administration. It's a great way to say, hey, the Super Bowl, or this vote, so many kids had said that Budweiser was their favorite commercial. It gives the school administration an opportunity to say, you know what, we are looking at this problem, and we're addressing it without actually taking a look at any student or any of their own rules. It's basically about media, and can put the school administration in a really, really good light by taking, doing a nice PR campaign that we're looking at this and we're addressing underage drinking in our community. Also, an opportunity to reach the media. These types of things, you involve kids. Media seems to eat this stuff up. It also helps them address what's going on in there in media. If you can put a kid on TV, if you can put a kid in the paper or on the radio, absolutely outstanding opportunity. So that's the opportunity to reach the media as well. Some really quick tips just to get you started. Get approval from your schools before doing the big bowl vote. Don't just, get their buy-in. Say, this is a great opportunity. It would not put the school in a bad light. It helps us be a part of a nationwide kind of movement, nationwide survey, good PR for them. But get their approval, get their buy-in before you actually do this. The worst thing you can do is kind of go behind them and anything like that. Just get their buy-in first and explain what the advantages are. If you're not doing the survey yourself, some schools have rules about people entering classrooms. Perhaps you can get a contact person. You can have a guidance counselor or one of the teachers take this up and actually do the questionnaires, do the work themselves. Also, print out the questionnaire now. Give it to them. Make it easy for them. The questionnaire, I'll show you in just a second how easy it is. Really, really easy. Again, it's in that downloadable playbook. It's free off our website. There's absolutely no cost for doing this at all. Now, tomorrow, the next day, anytime. Also, give them homework. You want to know the most fun homework? Watch the Super Bowl, and if you're not interested in football, watch the commercials. How cool is that if your homework is to watch commercials? I could do that all day. Maybe that's why I have a little bit of a weight problem. But as you look, and I don't know if Derek can do the questionnaire there. Here's the questionnaire. The questionnaire is really, really simple. It is basically, did you watch, well, we'll change that. This is the old one. Did you watch the Super Bowl? Yes or no? And what brand name products do you remember being advertised? Was it Crest? Was it Sunny Delight? It was those types of things, kind of a brief description, and that's it. That's the two questions you have to answer. It isn't a time-consuming piece. So it isn't like you're going to spend a half an hour and answering 20 questions. It's two little things. And then it also, again, gives you the opportunity to kind of talk about how media affects the way that you choose things. What would happen after the survey? You collect the survey, or I'm sorry, you collect the questionnaire, and then you do the survey, which is you do the tally form first. So the tally form is right there. This is a sample tally form. We will have the real tally form come up, but as Derek scrolls down, what you see is, down at the bottom, and it's coming, we actually sit there during the Super Bowl and actually do every commercial. So, and it doesn't matter, oh, I like the third Budweiser commercial or I like the fifth one, those types of things. It basically is which brand do you like more? Which one really caught your attention? Which was the funniest? Which was the best commercial there? So that's kind of how the tally form works. You take everybody's questionnaire, you put a number in there, and then what you do is I think Derek sends out a survey monkey the next day to everybody who wants to take part, and we collect the results and do the and then do all the numbers for the survey. Some other resources that we have for you are a letter to the editor, which we send out to you, before, so that will be on our website in the next few days. It gives an opportunity. It's customizable, so you can put it to your organization. But it basically gives kind of a clue into, hey, we are looking at this. We're concerned about youth alcohol advertising to young people, and then also a press release, which is also customizable to your organization. We will have that ready for you, and then you can also, if you so choose, put in your own numbers about what you saw at your local level. So many kids from mine liked the Doritos commercial, or the Budweiser, or Patron, or whatever. So those are all the resources we have. And then just a quick timeline. The pre-Big Bowl vote, the letter to the editor ought to be done in the next couple days. We'll send everybody out a link to that that are on this and through our national outreach. Available now will be the questionnaire, which we will post here shortly. On the 2nd is the Super Bowl. The survey and the tally form, the 3rd. So do the tally form and then do the survey after you've handed out the questionnaire. If we can have the results by noon on February 4th, we'll compile all those and have your press release ready for you on the 5th, so that on that Wednesday you can have Super Bowl still be fresh in everybody's mind, and however it will not be so overdone that that you won't get any media coverage, because people will still be talking about the big catch, or how Peyton Manning or whoever threw the big touchdown pass, or whatever. So basically that's our timeline. And again, it's a pretty simple little process, but we do have people here who are able to help you. Karen Downing from our office is able to guide you through that. And like I said, Derek will send you survey to the Survey Monkey as well. So do you have any questions out there?
And we do have a few questions. The first question is from Greg, and his question is, what is the youngest that can participate in the survey?
We like to keep it about 6th graders, so 6th grade and over. National statistics show that the average age that a young person takes his or her first drink is about 12 years old. So we like to get that first, before they even take their first drink. We like to get those stats as well. So about 6th to 12th grade is fantastic.
And then another question is, will the webinar be archived and available to watch again, from Lee? And yes, it will be archived. We record and archive all of our program webinars, and I will send you the link to the program webinar along with the PowerPoint presentation, the press release, the pre-press release that Tony had mentioned, and any other information that we might talk about within questions from here once it gets posted to our website. So as soon as that's available, I will send that out to you. The next question is, when will Drug Free Action Alliance send the results press release?
We will send that on the 5th in the morning. We will compile it. If we can get, we will get everybody's results on the 4th by noon. So that gives you a little time to, go in on Monday or Monday afternoon, get the survey done, the little questionnaire, compile it, and then get us the numbers by noon, and then we can have you a press release available the next morning on the 5th.
And we've got the tally form was broken down by specific commercial, but Tony said we only need to indicate by brand. Which will it be this year, from Diane?
We're going to go with brand, because what some people have found a little bit difficult is, Budweiser runs 3 or 4 of these things, at least 3 or 4 during the Super Bowl. And, sometimes it's hard for, well, I like that one, and I think it had a horse on it, but then they get confused. So we just kind of want to do it by brand this year. I think it makes it a lot easier. Unless, a consensus of the group wants to do it a different way. We just find it a lot easier, I think, doing it this way, so there isn't so much confusion.
Sherry's question is, what does UDETC or UDEC stand for? And that is the Underage Drinking Enforcement Training Center. And the only other question that I have now, if you have additional questions, please feel free to ask them at the question section. And the question is, how do I submit my school's responses? And the morning after the Super Bowl, we will have a link on the drugfreeactionalliance.org website where you can click on that. We all do it all through SurveyMonkey. And I will also email the link to those that were on today's call to make sure that you had that in your inbox the morning of the Super Bowl. What's most important pre-Super Bowl is that you print the 2 questions and have them available for your students to answer the morning of or sometime that Monday after the Super Bowl, and then you can enter the data once you've collected it and compiled it at the drugfreeactionalliance.org website or through the SurveyMonkey link that I send out. Are there any other questions? Those are all the questions that I see currently. Oh, and Catherine's question is, I'm confused, is there a survey and a questionnaire? Sorry, I'm using the phrase interchangeably. It's the Big Bull Vote is a survey. It's actually a questionnaire where we just ask the 2 questions related to the Super Bowl. Did you watch the Super Bowl, and what product do you remember seeing? So it's really more of a questionnaire than it is a Super Bowl, but it's one and the same. Then when it comes to the SurveyMonkey, that is just the platform in which you will submit your data. So there's no survey piece to that. It's just where you compile your results. That way we can send that to use that data that's compiled and send it through our press release. And Sheila's question is, does the survey have to be given in the morning? And it does not have to be. In order for the press release to be given, we need to receive it shortly thereafter. But it does not need to be sent the morning of the Super Bowl.
And sometimes, like I know that some people have had parties in the past, Super Bowl parties, and they'll actually just do it right after the party, so they don't have to worry about collecting it the next day. So there are some parties. One of the most interesting groups, I mean, we don't use them in our server because they're over over 21. We have some treatment groups that actually take part in it. And they then go and talk about their problems with alcoholism, and and stopping underage drinking and alcohol marketing. So that's kind of an interesting twist. Again, we don't put those numbers into our pool, but we get them anyway, and it's kind of interesting.
And this can also be something that you use not necessarily for data reporting if you're not looking at middle school or high schools, but it could also be an indicator for some of the things that your community sees. And so it could be much more broad than we use for our purposes, but it's just another benefit that you can use for your students. Like with all of our Drug-Free Action Alliance program webinars, we will have a survey that will follow the session. And we do this in order to assess the value of today's session and hopefully to determine future webinar topics. We'll send that out, and please complete the survey and provide your feedback so we can continue to get better. One more question from Sheila. Not the morning of the Super Bowl, but the morning after may have afternoon groups. Absolutely, Sheila. If you can get the information to us prior to when we send out our press release, that's really when we need it. And as soon as you can have it after the Super Bowl would be better just for student retention and memory. But if you're not able to get it to the afternoon groups on that Monday, that's certainly acceptable. And just to give you a sense of scale, when we first did the Super Bowl survey over a decade ago, we had about 400 respondents and we only surveyed Ohio. It's since grown to most states participating, and participation includes tens of thousands of students. So it's something that's really grown, and it's grown so readily just because of the ease of the application and how you can really have conversations about Super Bowl and the alcohol marketing that is related through the Super Bowl. Just to give you a sense of our next webinar, we will have it on February 11th. Tony will be joining us back again, and he's going to be looking at marijuana messaging and the Rocky Mountain HIDA report with the legalization of marijuana in Colorado. That's had some interesting things pop up to it. So Tony will be back talking about that. Again, it's February 11th, 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. Eastern Time. And if you're not yet registered, you can do so at drugfreeactionalliance.org/upcoming events. And if you are having some questions that you've not yet popped into your head yet, you can also always feel free to contact us here at Drug Free Action Alliance at 614-540-9985. The information about the Big Bull Vote is also on drugfreeactionalliance.org, so you can get all the information there, including the game book. So hopefully that will provide you all the materials and things that you need. Thank you for taking some time out of your day to spend with us. Hopefully this is something that will be beneficial to your community as you look to continually raise awareness about the impact of alcohol marketing. And again, if there's any questions, please feel free to contact us. Thank you so much.